When John White sailed away from Roanoke Island in 1587, he believed his absence would be brief. The settlers believed it too. The plan was simple. White would travel back to England, gather supplies, recruit additional support, and return before the colony's situation became critical. Under normal circumstances, the journey might have taken only a few months. But history had other plans. As White crossed the Atlantic and arrived in England, Europe was moving toward one of the most significant military confrontations of the 16th century. England and Spain were on a collision course. For years, tensions between the two nations had been growing. Religious conflict, political rivalry, and competition for wealth in the New World had created a dangerous situation. Then everything exploded. King Philip II of Spain prepared a massive naval force that would later become known as the Spanish Armada. Its purpose was clear. Spain intended to invade England. Suddenly, England's priorities changed overnight. Colonial projects became secondary. National survival became the focus. Ships that might have carried supplies to Roanoke were seized for military use. Sailors were redirected to support England's defense. Resources that White desperately needed were absorbed into preparations for war. White watched helplessly. Every day that passed increased the danger facing the settlers he had left behind. His daughter Eleanor was still on Roanoke. His granddaughter Virginia Dare was there as well. Every delay meant another day they were struggling without help. White repeatedly attempted to secure passage back across the Atlantic. Again and again, he failed. Months turned into years. The Spanish Armada sailed toward England in 1588. The conflict consumed the nation. White could do little except wait. Imagine his frustration. Somewhere across an ocean, more than 100 colonists were trying to survive in an unfamiliar land. Their food supplies were limited, their future uncertain, and the one man who had promised to return with help was trapped thousands of miles away. As England celebrated its eventual victory against Spain, White hoped the nightmare was finally over. Surely now he could return. But further delays continued. Finding ships remained difficult. Funding remained uncertain. Opportunities came and disappeared. The months kept passing. What White could not know was what was happening on Roanoke Island during this time. There were no letters, no reports, no messages. The colony had become silent. Across the Atlantic, the settlers faced challenges alone. Historians have spent centuries trying to reconstruct what life may have been like during those missing years. The possibilities are both fascinating and troubling. Perhaps the colonists successfully adapted. Perhaps they learned survival techniques from nearby Native American communities. Perhaps they relocated to a safer area. Or perhaps conditions became increasingly desperate. Food shortages were a constant threat. Weather could destroy crops. Disease could spread quickly. Tensions with neighboring groups could escalate unexpectedly. Every possibility carries its own story. Yet no definitive record survives. For nearly 3 years, Roanoke remained cut off from England. 3 years. In modern terms, it would be like leaving a remote settlement without communication, support, or supply deliveries for thousands of days. By 1590, White finally secured passage. The opportunity was far from ideal. He joined a privateering expedition rather than a dedicated rescue mission. Privateers were essentially government-authorized raiders who attacked enemy ships and seized valuable cargo. Their priorities were profit and warfare, not humanitarian rescue. Even so, White accepted the chance. After years of waiting, any opportunity was better than none. The voyage back across the Atlantic was difficult. Weather caused delays. Navigation remained challenging. Every obstacle increased White's anxiety. The closer he came to Roanoke, the more questions filled his mind. Were the colonists alive? Had they survived? Had they abandoned the settlement? Had they found a way to prosper despite the hardships? Most of all, he wondered about his family. He had left behind loved ones with the promise that he would return quickly. Now almost 3 years had passed. As the ships approached the coast of North America, White's anticipation grew. The familiar shoreline appeared on the horizon. Soon he would have answers. Soon he would see the colony again. Soon he would discover what had happened during his absence. What awaited him, however, was something no one could have imagined. When White finally landed near Roanoke Island in August of 1590, he noticed something unusual almost immediately. The settlement appeared strangely quiet. There was no sign of celebration, no visible activity, no people rushing toward the shore, no smoke rising from cooking fires, no sound of daily life. Silence. At first, White tried to remain optimistic. Perhaps the colonists were working elsewhere. Perhaps they had temporarily moved inland. Perhaps they simply had not noticed the arriving ships. But as he moved closer, a growing sense of dread settled over the expedition. The settlement looked abandoned. Buildings showed signs of deterioration. Nature was slowly reclaiming the area. And then came the discovery that would transform Roanoke into one of history's greatest mysteries. White remembered a conversation he had before leaving in 1587. The colonists had agreed on a simple plan. If they ever decided to relocate, they would leave a message carved into it indicating where they had gone. If they were forced to leave because of danger, they would carve a cross alongside the message. This arrangement was meant to help White locate them upon his return. Now, standing in the deserted colony, White searched desperately for clues. Eventually, he found one. Carved into a post was a single word: CROATOAN. Nearby, the letters CRO were carved into a tree. For a moment, White felt relief. This wasn't random vandalism. It appeared to be a deliberate message. And there was something else. No cross accompanied the carving. According to their agreement, that suggested the colonists had not left under immediate threat. Perhaps they had simply relocated. Perhaps they were alive. Perhaps the mystery already had an answer. Yet if that was true, why was nobody there? Why had an entire village vanished? And why would the greatest clue consist of only one strange word? The answers seemed tantalizingly close. But fate would intervene once again. Because just as White prepared to investigate CROATOAN Island and follow the trail left behind by the missing settlers, a powerful storm approached the coast. The weather would force a decision that would change history forever. And the lost colony of Roanoke would become even more mysterious.